Ocoee, also known as a local planning agency. Today is October 9th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. We're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to begin with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence. Thank you. You may all be seated. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Yes. Chair Keller is absent excused. Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
Member Mellon.
Present.
Member Wunderlich.
Present.
Member Bernstein is absent excused. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We will begin with our consent agenda. We will now take up this consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the September 11th, 2018 meeting. So if I can have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the consent agenda.
And I second.
There has been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. There is no old business, and so we're going to go into our new business, starting with item A, which is an update to the citywide FEMA floodplain ordinance. I would like to introduce City Planner Rummer, who will give us some information.
Yes,
about
thank you.
the
For the
ordinance.
record, Mike Rumor, City Planner. The item before you today is an update to the Land Development Code. And there's a lot of text. I'm not going to put it on a slide. And there's so much text, I actually just gave you the whole ordinance. I didn't put it in underline and strike through in the staff report because we're basically redoing a whole section. And what this is under the conservation section of our Land Development Code, which the Land Development Code implements the provisions, the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Now, in our comprehensive plan, our conservation element says things like there's no development within a floodplain or wetland unless it's for the public good. And you have to do things add buffers from those wetland and floodplain, 15-foot average, 15-foot minimum, 25-foot average. But you also have land, and so the Land Development Code's Article 7 talks about natural resources. And then there's this Article 7-2, which is implementing the FEMA floodplain ordinance that is based off of federal regulations and the Florida Building Code. And ever so often, FEMA updates their maps, the wetland lines, floodplain lines, and we have to adopt these maps and such. The provisions in what you're seeing here are intended. You do have properties that were developed before our comprehensive plan didn't allow or development in floodplain. And so you have existing structures in floodplain, and you have existing properties that are located in the floodplain that may want to refurbish an accessory building that is already located in the floodplain. Well, there are provisions, federal guidelines, if you are going to do that, or if you are going to construct a building or refurbish, how you do that. Something like adding weep holes in the wall in case the flood level rises, the water can move through, to try to lower the cost of any destruction to the property due to a high flood water. So we have provisions in the building code for constructing structures in the floodplain, even though our comprehensive plan says you can't, because as I said, you have old properties that are in the floodplain. When they adopt new maps, sometimes that flood line moves, and you have a structure in it, and they have the right to add on to their house or redo a structure. So Article 7 is divided into two parts, kind of facilitating our land development code. We're not facilitating the comprehensive plan. This update is not changing any of that criteria. This is just updating the floodplain ordinance to allow, if there is construction, it's a real pared down of all of the building codes. I have our floodplain manager here, Mr. Ryan Morgan from the building department, if you have any further questions. But I just wanted to make you aware that we're not changing criteria to allow you to develop in floodplain more than what's the public good. You can sometimes do little, if you have a little finger, you can cut that little finger off. We're updating the whole section 2, 7-2, which kind of facilitates the FEMA floodplain ordinance in the federal guidelines that we have to add into our code. So it's a lot of technical jargon. I just wanted to assure you we're not changing policy here. We're kind of just dotting I's and crossing T's.
So I do have a question. Just for clarification, I know you said you did not want to provide us with the strike-through and underline version, but in the version that we have, it appears as if all of Article 7, Part 1, is as if it's all new.
Yes, it is all new.
It is all new.
Yeah, and what I was saying is I didn't provide a summary talking about the strike through and underline because it's just
okay,
basically
right.
take the old, throw it out, throw in new. It would have been way too much documentation for you. So I just gave you the ordinance.
So when you say the 7-2A,
Yes.
that is the section that makes it appear as if it might be in conflict with the comprehensive plan? Is that what you're saying? I got a little
Well,
lost.
only the premise of, if you look at the comp plan, it says no development in wetlands, and 7-2A is talking about how you can develop in, not wetlands, floodplain.
Right.
How you can develop in floodplain, and kind of the reasoning for it.
Oh, okay, now I understand.
And so it's not conflicting, it's those situations where there is an existing structure. So this is one of the steps. There's a number of steps that we have to attain, Ryan, and correct me if I'm wrong, in order to qualify the city for residents to be able to get flood insurance. This is one of the items. We have a floodplain manager. We do these steps with FEMA. This is one of the steps that we have to do is update, provide this in our land development code. It's already in the Florida Building Code, which we adhere to. This is just a technical formality that we provide this language.
And just one more question. Do we know to what extent, or the number, or the extent of properties in the city?
Oh, yes,
that
we
are-
do.
Okay, so we do know that.
We do, we know the exact properties. There are some, when they did a FEMA map revision in 2009, it brought some properties into the floodplain based off of, and the FEMA staff really does a good job of researching. But we showed them a FLOMAR, a fill letter of map revision that took them out of the floodplain. So we had to we went through a process. We paid for a consultant to get our documentation and then had them removed again from the floodplain. But we met with the FEMA representatives, and they know if there's a parcel that's in the floodplain. The house may not be, but we had one that was a propane. They had put in a propane tank that was in the flood. They know, they're pretty aware of what's going on. They meet with us to say, okay, what's going on? Have you had any issues? This is what we found. Can you provide us documentation on how this permit was approved in the floodplain? Okay, it's been pre-existing. They just refurbished it type of a question. So we do that to get a score so we can have lower flood insurance for our residents.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ryan, anything I need to add?
How often are the floodplain maps redrawn?
Every 6?
It's not a hard line, it could be 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
It's as FEMA's able to bump budget for that. Maybe they go through the plane, shooting LiDAR data,
so when they get the budget to do that, then they hold these series of public hearings to say, we're looking at, this is the preliminary data, this is what the floodplain's gonna do. We go to those public hearings, we say, okay, it looks like they're gonna change some of the floodplain potentially in the northeast part of the city. And then we follow it, and we have a time where we can answer back to them, and then we have these meetings with them. So,
Are there still different categories such as 300-year and 100-year floodplains?
oh yes.
Okay, so that if it moves a property from a 300 into a 100-year
No, it typically moves them from a zone X or a zone A unknown to a zone that has a elevation, a specific elevation. It may, and sometimes the floodplain was at elevation 98, and now they're saying it's at elevation 100.4. And so we map that and see if it has any impact. As a policy, the city, going back before 2009, we require finished floor elevation of the home to be 18 inches to 24 inches above a floodplain elevation in the area. So we know the house may not be, it's just sometimes on their maps, it'll cut through the backyard, and sometimes
Yes.
the way it looks like the topography, it cuts through the corner of the house, and we'll have to show them the approved permit, the elevation, that it's not, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah. How much would this affect, like, the engineering design of new properties?
It doesn't affect anything, you know, it's in the land development code, that's why I'm kind of trying to really explain it. It doesn't affect land development, because our comprehensive plan and Article 7 still talks about development of wetlands and floodplain. This is just providing those, if there's gonna be a building permit provided, these are the regulations that you use. And it calls you to the FEMA flood ordinance, so.
Okay.
You'll see some projects that come down the line that we're gonna let them cut off a finger of a floodplain or a wetland. There's some projects that were pre-approved as PUDs back in the 90s, and they were allowed to impact floodplain, and they're just developing now. You'll maybe see like Arden Park, they had some early approvals where they could impact floodplain. So on a site development, you're gonna see where they're impacting floodplain, and that's why they're allowed, it was pre-approved, but you're not gonna have any structural issues in these newer subdivisions.
Right, so this effectively grandfathers them in and allows for, so they don't have to mitigate?
No, this does not. This, what we're adopting today, doesn't touch any of that.
The
It's more of like the
development
preamble, we're kind of adopting the preamble in the land development code, in a sense, to a floodplain ordinance, which is in the building code, which is separate.
There's no recommendation by the Development Review Committee, they're not part of this process?
No, because it's not a development item.
Okay, thank you,
It's just a quirky thing, it's in our land development code, so.
thank you.
Okay, if that concludes the questions from the commission, this is a public hearing, and is there anyone here who is here to speak on this item? Any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Okay, if none, we will close the public comment. And, okay, so we do need a motion. So can I have a motion to recommend approval of the text change amendments to the Land Development Code, specifically Article 7, relating to natural resource management and floodplain management?
I make the motion to approve LDC amendment concerning update to citywide floodplain management ordinance. Number on it.
Yeah, specifically Article 7.
Specifically Article 7.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we're going to move to item B, which is Top Gun Cheer. I'd like to ask City Planner Rummer to give us
Okay.
some information on
Thank
this,
you.
please.
Yes, this is a large-scale preliminary final site plan for Top Gun Cheer, and you'll understand the name in a little bit. The property is located at 651 South Bluford Avenue. It's on the intersection of Columbus and Bluford. It's known as the Florida Rock Industries parcel. It's just south of Fire Station 25 in our downtown. You can see from the aerial, it has some it was a location for the trucking facility for Florida Rock Industries. You still have some old pavement, a remnant of a footprint of a building. It looks like we just recently, the parcel had a split zoning, I-1 and I-2, and under the I-2, you have the trailer storage. I think they're renting some of that, the current owner's renting it out to the electric company, Bright Future Electric. That's who the trailers you see there. The property's under contract, going through development approvals to construct a 36,000 square foot training facility known as Top Gun Cheer. Presently, Top Gun Cheer is located in the old Toys R Us building in front of the mall. They're one of the top facilities in Central Florida, and they came to us and said, we're looking for some property in your downtown, like what you guys are doing with the downtown. And typically, you don't see businesses that are located on 50 want to move off of 50. And they had a site, and this is a perfect site for the proposal. As I said, it's a 36,000 square foot training facility. And I'll let the owner and operator come up and speak. He has his engineer here as well. So what this is doing is this is approving we're combining the preliminary and final. The preliminary site plan process has a public hearing. And the final site plan aspect tells you is when this plans are finished, we're gonna stamp them for approved for construction. And they can start breaking ground and putting in the ponds and the parking lot and such. The parcel, we just adopted the ordinance, so we've cleaned this up. This will all have the light blue I-1 zoning on it. That is a light industrial. Within our land development code, under I-1, you can do C3 uses, and in C3 you can do C2. This is considered a commercial recreation use. That's what a gymnasium type use is considered. So this is not reflecting the full zoning yet. Our GIS guy will update that once the ordinance gets recorded and passed back through, and it has the light industrial land use. You have vacant land to the south that the city owns. This is Story in Geneva. If you've been by there recently, we just resurfaced the road. This is sort of the gateway into our downtown. We have our downtown in areas, we have the downtown core, we have the downtown neighborhoods, and when we adopt, which we will bring to this commission, the land development code implementing the downtown and setting the boundaries, you'll see that this area is going to be contained within the downtown boundary, downtown Ocoee boundary. And so we have an applicant that came to us and said, we want to bring a lot of people to your downtown for a couple hours a week. And we also want to build a nice building. And they were one of the first to really look at architecture. This is what we're trying to achieve in our downtown, and they made a commitment from day one to provide a building with some architecture, not just a metal skin building with some covering just to kind of hide it. And you can, this is the most recent, you're gonna see that there's some really nice Art Deco and architectural detail for this building, which will really drive our downtown. It'll bring it down to that corridor. So once you start getting to Story and Geneva Road, you know you're somewhere different. And so we have a fully engineered plan. You have the 36,000 square foot building. This is Columbus. The fire station's right over here. This is Bluford Avenue. This is an old railroad. This is a ditch, old ditch, a railroad right away with a ditch. Another thing I want to let you know is for Bluford Avenue, in our downtown master plan and in what we're doing constructing, you've seen Bluford with the trees and the rework that's going on. That goes from Silver Star to Delaware. And then Delaware to Orlando had a modification a couple years ago. We wanted to look at Bluford from Orlando all the way down to Old Winter Garden Road, we want Blueford Avenue to be a better looking road. It needs to fit the character of the area. From Old Winter Garden Road up past 50, it's our CRA, it's a retail area, and then you transition to the downtown. So we have a consultant that's working on a Blueford Avenue right-of-way plan to make Blueford Avenue streetscape look somewhat the same. I have a project that's coming in before we've adopted this Blueford Avenue requirement. So some elements of this plan also take into account that future road section and elevation. The property will be accessed from Columbus, and it'll also be accessed from Blueford Avenue. You'll see the stormwater pond. With this use not being in the downtown core, there is no reason to put the building up on the road. We'll start transitioning as we get to the downtown core. One of the items that they are going to do, an element that you see in downtowns, is you try to kind of shield, and you want to bring some architectural elements out near the road. They're going to provide a landscape knee wall along the front with landscaping, so you won't necessarily see all the cars pointing at you as you would in a normal shopping center. And we are also providing pared back landscaping along the front, because the Blueford Avenue streetscape will have street trees, maybe palms, oaks, probably not as heavily palmed as our downtown core. It'll start to transition. So what we didn't want to do is have this nice street trees and then have this heavily landscape buffer 25 feet behind it, blocking the architectural building that we have. They are connecting to city water and sewer services. You'll see that you have drive aisles for drop-off parking. We are excited about the opportunities to capture all of these parents that will be dropping their kids off for a couple hours, and also other people that will be visiting the center when they have the national cheer competitions in Orlando. They will come and work out and hang out. So we'll get tourists coming in here per se. And it's a really good site plan. They picked a parcel that can fit the building, can fit the parking. Because we're not gonna have parking on the road like we will in the downtown, they're not meeting a reduced parking calculation. They'll be able to park it, they'll be able to stack, the building will look good, and the landscaping and the knee wall and landscaping will complement Blueford Avenue once we come down with the new streetscape. Probably tired of hearing me talk. The engineer is here if you have any questions, and then the operator, owner, developer is here as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I do have one, I think it's a simple question. I see the two entrances, but I can't quite, and I don't know if it's because my bifocals aren't
Okay.
strong enough. I can't quite figure out where is the front of the building, like where's the main access to the building? Is it
Front's
off
here.
of
Yes, so
Columbus, or is it
Yep.
off of?
off of Blueford. So
Okay,
right here. This is facing Blueford.
okay.
Mr. Rumor, in the staff report, page 2, second paragraph, the last sentence of that second
It
paragraph.
says the building.
Yeah, what was that going to say?
That's, we had 2 staff reports going, and we sent the one where I didn't delete the building, so that's,
So that's just.
yeah, that's just an error, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I meant to bring that up in my earlier comments.
Any other questions? So at this time, I'll invite the applicants' representatives forward if you would like to make any comments, or if there are any questions, you can come forward.
You don't have to, no, it's your chance.
Yeah, only if you want to.
All right.
All right.
Note, I got one question. Is this gonna be a PEMB building, pre-engineered metal building, or I can't really tell from the,
Yes,
No.
yeah, come
Yes.
up. No, you
Yes,
gotta,
actually,
so they
for the
can hear,
record,
so they can
yeah.
hear through the record,
For
yeah,
the record.
the clerk's record. In the commercial and industrial, under our land development code presently, the downtown overlay and different, will have different requirements, more stringent, but in currently code doesn't allow metal skin buildings, fully metal skins. They have to have adjacent to parking and right-of-ways. No more than 20% of it can be metal skin building, just to let you know what kind of a starting point. This is.
Yeah, I noticed the metal skin on here as it was
On
like
the-
this
on the
masonry
rear.
tilt wall, then I
Yeah.
saw the,
Yeah.
metal skin, it was, assuming it was probably,
Right,
pre-engineered metal.
It will be a pre-manufactured engineered building. The front facade will have stucco, and the side facade towards Columbus is also going to have stucco. And the facade facing south is going to be part stucco, part metal building. And you will have some other materials in the front facade as well. Some other metal panels are going to be more architectural, flat panels, not your ribbed metal panel.
And if you could please, sir, give your name and organization for the record.
For the record, I'm Carlos
And
Barrios
address.
with Barrios Engineering, 605 Delaney Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801.
Thank you.
So we're getting, meeting the code, Article 614 under Commercial Industrial Building Design Standards, but then we're also getting sort of that upgraded, this is not flat, these are towers, glass, so you're getting an upgraded architecture as well. Meeting code and then an upgrade. Not only in the architecture, but they're also gonna do a decorative knee wall out along the road. Sort of like you see around near the racetrack on Blueford and 50, that decorative knee wall.
Okay. Thank you. More questions?
What times of day would be the heaviest traffic here, the greatest use?
Typically, it's going to be around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The owner operator is here. Just want to make sure, is that a correct answer? Or?
Yeah, so,
If you could come to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podium and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Roger McClellan. I'm the owner-operator for Top Gun Cheer. Our current address is 9489 West Colonial Drive in Ocoee. So what happens is the kids, most of the kids are on a team. It's an 11-month season. They practice in 2 to 2.5 hour slots. There's an earlier slot, starts about 5:15 or 5:30. They go till 7:30 or 8 or 7:15, depending how old they are. But generally it's between 2 and 2.5 hours. And then the later session, those teams start at 7. So they go 7 to 9:30. Prior to the 5:15, there's what you would consider like tumbling classes. So groups of 8 kids doing a couple different kinds of classes. And then there's a lot of private lessons where coaches are working one-on-one or a coach with 2 athletes. So they kind of come in. It's common for an athlete to kind of have their own private lesson, 1/2 hour a week, and then go to their practices. So at any given time, the kids have, the parents drop them off, about half or more drop them off, go run an errand, go get food, come back, or some of them are working. We have a nice parent area. Certainly you're welcome to come to kind of see our existing model, but we have a parent area where they have large screen TVs so they can watch their kids. But you'll find, we have Wi-Fi for the parents where they're, on their laptop doing, some are doing work and stuff like that. So to answer the question, it's most populated 3, it starts picking up, and then around 5, it kind of just runs pretty evenly until about 9:30. 9:30, it's pretty much empty at that point. And then right now on the weekends, it's not that crowded. We hope to increase some of the different things, some on the weekends. Our kids, we don't require, most of the practices occur during the week, and they have competitions on the weekends usually. So
Very good. And the age range of the participants?
the age range, we have kids as young as 3.
Really?
Yep, and we have our most elite team is an open team, so we have kids, there's about 6 of the kids that are 20, 21 college age kids. So we have a couple kids that come from like University of Florida, UCF. So our most elite team can have kids 14 to any age, believe it or not, but usually it ends up being just real elite kids that are in college or college age.
And when teams are visiting for competitions around here and they come to the facility to practice, do they come in buses?
Yes, sometimes they do. More often than not, it's because the teams are usually made up of about 20 kids. So a lot of times it's vans. They'll rent vans. It's just easier for them to get vans. So there's one of the biggest competitions is like a world's competition. So kids come from around the world, and that's the group that usually more likely ends up training because they'll make it a 7 to 10 day trip vacation while they're here. So they'll, train at our facility for, maybe every other day for 3 or 4 days. And usually it's 3 or 4 like of the 15 to 17 passenger vans because it's easy for the coaches to get them around and more cost effective.
And there's adequate parking for those larger vehicles?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you very much. So at this time, this is a public hearing, and so if there is anyone who would like to speak from the public, you're more than welcome to come forward and state your name and your address. Okay, if there's no one from the public who would like to speak, then we're going to close the public comment period. We do need a motion for this, so may I have a motion to approve the preliminary and final large-scale site plan for project LS 2018-12?
I'll make that motion to approve Top Gun Cheer, 651 South Bluford Avenue, preliminary final site plan, project number LS 2018-012.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And now we're on to Vermeer, if I can say that right, Trinity. It's a large-scale preliminary and final site plan. City Planner Rummer?
Yes. This is another result of economic development. And I apologize, I've been working on this one for a while, so everyone that I've been dealing with knows about this project, so if I kind of run too fast, let me know. Again, this is early on. This is, oh gosh, a year ago. It's a construction equipment company, not Dozier's, but ditch witches, undergrounding, I'll butcher it. But they do Vermeer Southeast. They handle Southeast United States and the Caribbean. They're located off Old Winter Garden Road in Orange County now. They were looking for a site. They bring they bring some jobs, they bring some executive jobs, and they wanted a better Southeast headquarter than what they currently have. And so they were looking at this piece of property in Ocoee that got purchased by Sunbelt. And so we found another piece of property that had a commercial zoning. It's just outside what would be our downtown area, but it's in a gateway to the downtown, but it is located within the brownfield overlay. The project you see is on the corner of Palm Drive and Ocoee-Apopka Road. Ocoee-Apopka Road is a county-controlled road, and Palm Drive is the city's. Just to the west on Palm Drive, on the other side of the 429, we have the big 600,000 plus square foot Park at 429 light industrial project. So Palm Drive is going from not really having much going on to some of the biggest, highest tax base in the city. So we have plans for Palm Drive in the future to make Palm Drive a lot better. And these guys with Vermeer understand that, and they've actually designed their site, incorporated it in a way to utilize the future plans of Palm Drive. Palm Drive is it's the closest access we have to the West Orange Trail, but once you get on the other side of East Crown Point Road, you gotta go through an industrial park and Winter Garden. However, Park at 429 has provided a 10-foot sidewalk, and this development along Palm Drive will provide that as well. So you start to get some sort of an opportunity to get to the West Orange Trail another way, besides the trail we're gonna build in our downtown. We've got the properties vacant. As you can see, there's a little baseball field there. It's wrapped around a city pond and park. And there's an old agreement, we redid the stormwater retention in Pioneer Key. We redid the roads, provided stormwater. We ran a pipe through here, through their property into our pond. And in that agreement, they have the right to discharge stormwater into our pond. This is the Lake Apopka drainage basin, which has more stringent requirements. You've got to capture a lot of phosphates out of the retention and then send the water on its way through here, through a creek to Lake Apopka. The zoning is commercial, and in commercial you can have office. And this is a joint use. Let me go back. So Vermeer is the company that's kind of driving this, and I don't know the partnership. They might be able to explain it, but Trinity Tile is one of the largest tile flooring distributors in Central Florida, and they've teamed up and they're going to develop a site together. So you've got Vermeer Trinity, the land use is commercial. Oops, let me get to this site plan. So you're going to have Vermeer building office in part of their showroom and part of their where they do some maintenance and get equipment ready. It's going to be located here. Trinity Tile is going to be located here, which it's all under roof. You'll have some warehouse storage, but you'll have showroom, office. And then they've jointly come up with this sort of multi-purpose building, which they'll be able to utilize for employees. It'll have a basketball court. Adjacent to this wide sidewalk we're going to have on Palm Drive, ability for future retail smoothie store, something to capture the trail aspect, and then you have the park around it. Vermeer as a business, they also provide the benefits, not only the benefit of employees, executive jobs, but they also do these seminars where they bring people in around from the southeast to come in and do a demo day or learn about the equipment. Also, they offer classes for certifications for the different equipment. So it's an opportunity to bring more people into Ocoee that will need to stay the night in a hotel. This is going to be under one parcel ownership, and then at some time later they'll come in with a subdivision and subdivide the parcels, but for the first phase, development phase and all that, it'll be under one joint ownership. You see this parcel I'm indicating here, this is going to be a future right-of-way, and I'll cover that. This plan did not show, that's the property areas. So looking at the northern end of the site, you have the office, the shop, you have access from Ocoee-Apopka Road. Again, this is a Orange County controlled road. You can see the Trinity Tile site coming into play. So they'll have joint access, and then there will be access off Palm Drive down here. Presently, if you see the parcel shape, you go to the aerial. You see Palm Drive comes to this point. This is Silver Star Road. Separately, we're under a Silver Star Road study with the state looking at widening and realigning Silver Star Road. And one of the items that came in the future phases of traffic and the increase in population is this distance from Palm Drive to Silver Star creates a delay situation. We have always had a plan to somehow bring Palm Drive over to Ocoee-Apopka Road, kind of smooth it out. And in that research, it found that the optimum location is right across from this driveway is to bring Palm Drive over here. And so just as I got that information, they were finalizing their site plan where they initially had the pond and the buildings. And so we were able to work out and try to get this road cut now, and you'll see that here.
Okay.
This is Palm Drive, that's their property, so we'll cut the road, line it up from the driveway, provide that improvement that's needed in the future. And then what that does is now we capture water from Palm Drive. This now becomes a public pond, and we're setting us up for the future. There's still some items we've got to tackle to make it happen, but we've got a commitment, they've designed it. So this is another way that Vermeer not only came and said, we want to locate in the city, we want a part of what's going on in the city, but they're still working on their architecture. You're not going to see architectural renderings here, but they are going to make the buildings architecturally nicer than what would be expected. We don't have an overlay in place with a specific architectural requirement. But the commitment of the road, they're meeting in aspects of an urban downtown with a building that will be have a reduced setback from the road. They're providing jobs, and they're providing destination spots, not only for Ocoee, but for our downtown area and our gateway to our downtown. They will have stormwater retention use here, and as well as the ability to go into the pond in the rear, based off that past agreement. And also, if there's capacity in a pond, public pond, sometimes we look to see, is there any capacity? Can we have adjacent development utilize that pond in any shape or form if we don't have any need for it, expanding it in the future or expanding the amount of water going in there. The way the Vermeer site will work, again, it is office and it's a southeast sales center. They will have some, they will provide a wall adjacent to the park and a landscape buffer. They will also have a nice connection from the rear so the employees can come out and utilize the park. It's a very nice park. I don't know if you've ever been there. You can walk around it. It's a really nice setting. Let me see what else I have. The landscaping plan, again, this is to go to construction documents. I know they're really itching Vermeer. I've dealt with the Vermeer, I met with the Trinity Tile guy once, but really Vermeer, they're really itching, ready to go. When you go to Vermeer Southeast, it'll say Ocoee, Florida. They want to get this headquarters going. They have some grand plans. With that, again, they have their engineer here. If you have any questions, technical questions.
Thank you so much.
And a representative from Vermeer is here, for Vermeer is here as well and can speak to the users.
Okay, before we go to the applicant, are there any questions of staff? No? Okay, well, if the applicant can come forward and their representative? Oh. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Carlos Barrios with Barrios Engineering, 605 Delaney Avenue, Orlando, Florida.
Okay, do you have anything you want to add?
I'm
Before
here
we
to
ask
answer any questions you may
berate
have.
you with questions?
I don't have anything to add, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Let me just state this, and the same thing for the one before, the Top Gun Cheer. These are first generation developments coming into a downtown situation. They're willing to stake their flag early on. We don't bring development agreements to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They go to the City Commission. There will be a development/incentive agreement that goes forward with this project. The aspect of, we got a company to move into Ocoee that's going to provide jobs. They have data on the number of jobs that are higher than the median salary in Orange County. So I just want to say, if you happen to follow this in the City Commission meeting, you'll see a development and incentive agreement. The incentives, this is in the brownfield overlay, which we call this Ocoee Seed Special Economic and Enhancement District. And there will be some incentives provided to help secure this site and these jobs and this increased tax base and such. But you don't see it at this level. We're still working all that out, the cost, and see what we can do, and that agreement goes to the City Commission.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Perhaps I missed it in Mr. Rumor's presentation, but the parked vehicles will be shielded from view from the street?
So this is not, it's a gateway, but this one does not have the Palm Drive will provide that in a different setting.
Very good.
And so it's sort of transitioning different than when you're coming up. So when you're coming up Bluford in the Top Gun cheer, you're coming up in the CRA, the Bluford Avenue will have, you see the apartments and the racetrack has the knee wall. You're transitioning more into a more urban, and this one you're transitioning more to a industrial and a agricultural, so it doesn't have that same requirement for a knee wall. That didn't, the parcels around this are in a character area to try to set up what we have similar to on the west side of the 429 and create that development. There's about 100 acres future, but that transitioning did not come into play here.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I noticed that 14-foot wall, that's new, all the way around it.
Yeah, and I need to make a correction. We're showing us a 14-foot wall, but it's actually gonna be a 6-foot wall.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
It's still gonna be masonry though?
No, it'll be, we're planning on being precast.
Okay, precast, and then that leads me to my next question. I'm looking at the drainage plan, and it looks like all the water is going to that northwest corner, I assume, and I'm not seeing any.
We don't have the grading plan on this set, but we're actually collecting it with stormwater inlets, and we're driving somewhere down south to where the pond is, and somewhere it's going to be going up north to the existing detention area in the
Thank
park.
Are there any other questions? All right. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this particular project? Seeing that there are no speakers, we're going to close the public hearing and close public comment. We do require a motion for this, so can I have a motion to approve the preliminary final large-scale and final large-scale site plan for project LS 218-10. There we go.
You're on a roll.
All right, I'm on a roll. I'll make that motion to approve the Amir Trinity large-scale preliminary final site plan, project number LS 2018-010.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
Yes, I will second that.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay. The motion is approved. Okay, now on to item D, which is 815 Claricona Ocoee Road, also North Lakewood Avenue. This is an annexation discussion?
This is an annexation only, and another development group that has purchased several properties in our downtown and in Ocoee. This group is going to develop a new Mexican restaurant on Silver Star called, it's going to be their second Four Locos, but it's going to be a standalone restaurant. They've purchased property in the downtown. They purchased this property with the intent, it's in Orange County, has an agricultural zoning, to do a residential development. If you've seen the area, there's really not a lot of high-quality homes that would be, you would purchase more, I'm just gonna say in the 150,000 range, maybe 200,000. What they're doing is they're trying to figure out a development plan. They've done a couple of schematics where they can get about 13 single-family homes. You can get around 20, up to 28 townhomes, two-car garage townhomes. So they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do. So I said, well, while we have you, let's annex you. Then what's gonna happen is in order to do a development, they're gonna need to do a PUD, and we'll do a, depending on the number of units, a small-scale comp plan amendment and a rezoning to PUD at that time. So this is just simply bringing it in. It's gonna retain the Orange County agricultural zoning. It's located on, Lakewood's weird. Part of it's the county, and in the county, they call it Claricona Ocoee Road. In the city, we call it Lakewood. It's got, you can see, this is the city wrapping around here. It's all low-density land use, which in our joint plan, in our future land use map, which says when we do annex it, it can't have more than 4 dwelling units an acre unless you do a change through a rezoning and a comp plan amendment. So this is simply just an ordinance to annex the property. You will see the future development phase. Anything over 12 lots is large scale. And with the development costs, if they go single family, they're gonna try to get 13 or 14 homes. Townhomes obviously will exceed that. So you will see this again under the rezoning. You'll see the subdivision at that time.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions regarding this annexation?
Not here.
No.
Okay, is the applicant available?
No, they're not.
They're not available, okay. With that, if no one has any other questions, is there anyone available for public hearing? Want to speak for public hearing?
Think so. And just let me say, the annexation, it meets the requirements because it's adjacent to the city on the south side, so that makes it eligible for annexation.
Please state your, I'm sorry, sir, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Patton, 110 Anderson Place, Ocoee, Florida.
He lives
which is-
right behind. His
Yep.
parcel is right here to the rear.
I have no problems with the annexation myself. Some of the neighbors are concerned about sound buffers, but that'll be later. My main concern is, will we be notified when the site plans become available so we can be that demanding?
Okay.
The reason I ask, right now, there is,
You wanna go to the, up here, maybe?
right here, there is a sign that is almost buried in the bushes announcing tonight's meetings. I'm sure it follows the letter of the law. The sign is there, legible, but a driver would not normally see it. I think the spirit of the law needs to be, letter of the law needs to be modified to the spirit of the law to make signage readable from drivers when they're driving down the road.
So the way we advertise when we have a public hearing is we do, from the property appraiser's website, we do a 300-foot buffer around the property. And whatever address is given that the taxes go to, that's where the 300-foot notice goes to. A sign at the property and then an advertisement in the local paper. So you should receive a 300-foot notice
Okay.
and the sign will go back out.
Yeah, we received the notice about a week ago.
Yes.
Is
it's-
that typical?
yes, that's typical.
Okay. But yeah, it's the signage that concerned me. The signage, like I say, it follows the letter of the law, I'm sure, but it really is not, if you're a driver, you're not gonna see the sign. The only reason we saw it is my wife was a passenger and said, oh, what's that? Otherwise, the sign probably wouldn't have even been noticed.
Okay. Thank you for your comment, sir, and for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Let me ask you to come to the podium so that we can get your name and address for the record.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Would that be this
Yes.
time or? Okay. Hi, my name is Raina Rangel. I live on Burnt Tree Court, 104. So I'm adjacent to the property. I was just wondering what's gonna right now we don't have sewer. We have septic tanks. We don't have gas. We don't have stuff like that. And then just the volume of the traffic and stuff like that, just what the impact is gonna be to the area.
Yes. Good question. So there is water and sewer available to the property. When we extend sewer and water to an area, traditionally, the commission has not required existing single-family home users to connect. For instance, the cost, when you connect, you're paying to buy capacity. We get only so many cups a year, millions of gallons, and you're buying into that. If we run water, you have water, but we run sewer, if we were gonna run it down Burnt Tree and make everyone connect, they would have to pay almost $7,000 to connect.
Per
per
house.
house.
Wow.
So it's like 6,700 and it goes up with the construction. So that is an opportunity, and actually the state passed a law that talks about trying to get all these septic tanks out of service, but they haven't provided funding or, so it is available. This subdivision will be connected to water and sewer, it will not be septic. Because it's available by law now, they will have to connect. Such a small use, you have about 7 cars per,
Because right now, we get a lot of U-turns going into Burnt, because it's a court,
Mhm.
and so it wears it down a lot, and
Oh,
we
yes.
have a lot of potholes and stuff already on the street.
Okay.
So if there's the subdivision there, people pass it or whatever, they're gonna keep on going and you do U-turns.
right. So you would expect if they do single, what do you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So
Mhm.
they could probably get 10, 11 houses. And actually, the stormwater requirement's probably a little bit more
Like the
stringent.
retention
than
pond,
what-
yeah.
Yes. That's your retention
Yep.
pond, yeah. Theirs is probably gonna be a little bit more stringent, so
Okay.
it's not a big traffic generator. 7 trips per house.
Okay, and then the last one is, we have a manhole in our backyard. Is that gonna be impacted anyhow? Okay.
No, they're not, yes.
Yeah,
Everything they do has to be, will be within their boundaries.
Yeah, it's really weird.
They'll
When we bought the house,
underground.
there's a manhole. You guys are looking at me weird. It's the fence is right there, and the manhole's from like the property line to maybe right here, and it's a huge one. It has a big metal thing all over it.
Huh. Interesting.
I was just wondering, because I think it's rainwater or whatever on there.
Interesting.
I believe that is part, and I could easily be wrong, I believe that is part of a drainage system that went across this boundary. Because before I married my wife, so it was several years ago, she had to get some stuff done back here, authorized use of property for some kind of a big drain pipe here.
Interesting. Might be
I don't know if
a
there's-
for a drain pipe.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's what that ties into.
Yeah, we just
I'll have
a
the
big- we
answer
have a-
for you
Okay.
before we have the next meetings. I'll get,
Thank you.
find that out. Good questions.
Excuse me, can you both please fill out speaker forms? They're located by the door.
There's a white form in the
Yeah.
back
Yeah,
if you can
thank you.
fill them out.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address this project, this annexation? 815 Ocoee Road? If there are no other speakers, then we're going to close the public comment period. We do have to have one motion on this, so can I have a motion to approve the annexation of VMG Estates, Project AX 07-18-73?
Madam Chairman, I will move, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning agency, recommend approval of the annexation of that 3.9 acres known as VMG Estates at 815 Clarcona, Ocoee, annexation project AX-07-18-73.
Can I get a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Okay,
Chair
thank
voting.
you. Yes, aye, sorry. I was distracted a little bit. Motion passes. So now we are on to the Amarian property. Do we need to
So-
step back?
No, I just noticed there was an applicant on another one here. I
Oh,
was
okay.
confused when so this property is, so what, let me see here. Did I do that? This property, years ago, we have a water line that runs up Second Street. And when your property is adjacent to the city, we require annexation upon receiving water service. If your property is not adjacent to city limits, we have what's called an intent to annex, which says we will provide you water service. And it's so much as you agree to, at such time as you're adjacent, your property is adjacent, you will annex into the city. If not, we'll cut your water off. These properties that are located in the county that receive water service, pay a little bit higher fee for not being a city resident. We've done some annexations, and now that we annexed, so what happened is, you can't see from this one, let me see, yeah. This property is in the county, and see that finger, that flag that goes by? That separated this parcel from this one, which is in the city. Well, a couple years ago, we annexed this parcel in, which now made it touch a parcel in the city. So under that intent to annex agreement, we're annexing the property. They already receive water service. It's just facilitating that agreement. existing single-family home and all that.
Okay. Any questions? Is the applicant here? No? Okay. So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this annexation? Seeing that there are no speakers, we'll close the public comment period. There are two motions necessary for this item. First, may I have a motion to approve the annexation of the property AX 1876? I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right, I do the same. Madam Chairman, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning agency, recommend approval of the annexation of the property known as the Amaran property located at 403 Second Street. That is annexation project AX-08-18-76.
May I have a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays, and the motion passes. Now may I have a motion to approve rezoning of the Amarin property, project RZ 180813?
I'll make that motion to approve Amarin property on 403rd Second Street for rezoning, project number RZ-18-08-13.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I will second that.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 There are no opposed. The motion passes. All right, we're now to item F, which is also an annexation and rezoning. This is of the City of Ocoee Center Street Pond.
Yes, again, Mike Rimmer, city planner. Subject property is on the south side of Center Street. There's some unincorporated, this is kind of near the other, that's First, Second Street's not too far away. This was a pond that was owned and maintained by Orange County, but as the city, we came into agreement with the county upon 51% of the road being owned by the city, we transferred the road. So they transferred Center Street to the city, and the pond is now the city's. So we own the pond. Every couple of years I go through and try to find those city-owned properties that are still in unincorporated, and when we can annex them, we annex them. So what we've done is we've annexed, this parcel is in the process right now of annexing, but this pond is owned, maintained by the City of Ocoee, but it's physically located in unincorporated Orange County. So we're just annexing it in. We're just giving it the same zoning as the area, even though it'll never be a single-family home. So, as you can see from the aerial, it's a pond.
And no tax revenue.
That, people that were here, they're building the house next door, and once in the county, and once they get done, we're gonna annex them. We don't, they thought the meeting was tonight, so.
Oh,
They got the notice on this one and thought it was theirs.
oh,
So,
okay.
But this is yes, annexing properties, bringing it in, coloring it with the city zoning, that's
Okay.
all.
Any questions on this? All right, with there being no questions, there's no public, so I'm assuming there's no one here to speak on this item. So we're going to go ahead and close the public comment period. There are two motions necessary for this item. So may I first have a motion to approve the annexation of the Center Street Pond projects AX 09-18-78.
I will make that motion. Of 715 Center Street, City of Ocoee Pond, for the annexation, project number AX-09-18-78.
Is there a second?
And I will second that.
All approved, all in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes with no objections. Now may I have a motion to approve the rezoning of Center Street Pond, project RZ 18-09-16?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning agency, recommend approval of the rezoning from Orange County R1, low-density residential, to City of Ocoee R1, low-density residential, of the city-owned pond property known as 715 Center Street, project RZ -18-09-16.
Is there a second?
A second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in approval say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And the motion passes. And now to item G, Inspiration Town Center and Luxury Homes. This is a large-scale preliminary final site plan. However, it has been canceled and will be re-advertised to a future date.
Yes, this was one we rezoned the property, the city approved rezoning it to PUD. It's a commercial and townhome development. We had tried to run quickly with the approvals, reviews on the site plan. We came into some information that was not recorded. It was in some agreements, some deed transfers that provide for some potential capacity issues. So we're gonna look at that. We couldn't finalize it by this meeting, so instead of just keep continuing it, we just say cancel, we'll re-advertise, re-notice, and hope to get it here at the November Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It's nothing to the fault of the applicant, everything's they've already got St. John's approval on their stormwater pond, so it's just on our end. A lot of history down in that area that wasn't recorded that we became privy to that we need to just look at
Don't you
with
love that?
water and sewer capacity, so.
Okay.
So without any prejudice against them, it's not their fault, they're ready to go. And so are we just gotta tie up some loose ends.
Okay. Since there are no members of the public here, I don't have to open the public hearing, correct?
It's
I can
canceled.
just cancel, okay. So there's no action necessary on this. Okay. Turn the page, and with that, we'll do our project status report.
Yes, I think that your first meeting, we had a lot of comprehensive plan amendments. We had 3 comprehensive plan, large scale, that we sent to the state for review. We've received word back from the state and the State Department of Economic Opportunity that they have no objections or recommendations or conditions. And we've also received word back from different planning agents, the state agencies, that they have no comments. So that's a success. So we will be bringing back to the City Commission a second reading of the ordinance adopting those large-scale transmittals. I want to thank you for your participation. The first large-scale map amendment for a project in the 13 years I've been here, and other texts. So that's good news. We do, however, have 2 other large-scale map amendments for projects. One of them I will be bringing, I'm going to try to bring them both together. One of them may be coming with a non-recommendation of approval, but that'll be their decision if they want to go forward. And if you look at the project map, I was going to make a note, there's one here, Mr. Wunderlich may know. We had this one, we had an approval for a Med Express. It is now going to be developed. It's going to be a Aspen Dental building up in front of the Aldi on 50. Med Express pulled out, and Aspen Dental came in there. You've seen Aspen Dental all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
There's the other items of interest are, if you're aware of the FX building, this is almost kind of across the road from the VMG Estates. That building, it's an industrial building on Lakewood, was purchased by GLE, and it's all internal, but they do sort of metal recycling and stuff like that. And so that site's gonna be cleaned up. They're gonna build a nice wall and a stormwater pond, and it's gonna be dressed up a little. So we're gonna start to see some changes on Lakewood. We have, right now on the north side, you have the Montessori School, which developed a nice site. This site will be cleaned up when the VMG Estates comes in. I mean, there's a couple nice subdivisions on there already, but it's just nice to see. We have, the only other item that I want to point out is the City Center West Orange. It's a big development that you'll see. We have an office building that we're reviewing right now that'll be going up. And in part of that, is some aspects of vacating a portion of right-of-way, but it's really the right-of-way was built south of it. But we're looking at a really neat office building that'll be coming forward.
And
So
where is that now? Where is
It's
this?
under City Center on the second page. City Center, West Orange, Parcel 1, Phase 4, Lot 4A is going to be a really neat office building over behind the racetrack at Lake Bennett,
Oh, okay.
that
that's what I was
area.
asking.
So
Okay.
we're seeing a lot of development on all sides of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Out on Silver Star on the east side of town, and you'll have the Araya and Legacy ALF on Roberson, and you've got the development up on the north side. So lots going on.
Good stuff. All right. If there are no questions or no further comments?
I have one, Madam Chairman. Mr. Roomer, is the dream of Four Locos Taco ever going to come to fruition?
Yes, so that is located in an area with no sewer. And so we've been trying to figure out how do we get sewer to this parcel. We can achieve it via running along Silver Star Road to Blueford, where we just put in a new 50-inch force main. Or we can achieve it by crossing Silver Star Road and tapping into the Quadro Shopping Center's lines. The better way to go is to go across Silver Star Road in the Quadro Center. Well, the Quadro Center has a pending sale. It was supposed to close Thursday of last week. And now it's closing Thursday of next week. But it's supposed to close 3 times already. So I came to the point, we don't know which way we're gonna run. We wanna run it south, but if I don't have an agreement with the property owner, then we've gotta go a different route. We finally got the new owner to agree, just waiting on the closing. We've got the easement documents ready, we've got survey ready. So that's what's been holding it up, is which way is the sewer line gonna run, and then we've gotta size the lift station.
I thought that there was some problem with access and parking initially.
Nope.
Okay, good.
It's not. They've got their DOT permit, they've got their St. John's permit, it's just been
Right.
sewer.
Your instant recall of such detail always amazes me.
We met on it today. We met on it today, that's why.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Very good, thank you.
All right.
So one of the decisions we made today is they would only require their one parcel, a small lift station, but we're looking at the development of the potential properties in the area, and if we can figure out a way to have them pay for the small, but we construct a large and then get the other property owners, when they develop, we can provide sewer to everyone and not do it piecemeal. So we're trying to do that planning as well while we're being held off on the closing of this property, and we've met on it today and finalized everything, so.
Very good.
Well, if we're all ready and all hearts and minds are clear, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I will make that motion to
Can I get
adjourn.
a second?
Second that.
7:45.
All right, we stand now adjourned. Oh, do we have to vote on that? Okay, yeah. So we stand adjourned now at 7:45 PM.